Imagine expecting perfection, a crystal chandelier dinner, a man in a polished suit with white gloves bowing at your doorway. Now imagine the door opening instead, and what walks in is a tired single dad holding a harmonica in one hand, with his little girl clutching his other hand, barefoot, her smile lighting up the room. If you think that doesn't sound like a 5-star Butler, wait till you hear what really happened. Stay with me until the end, and you'll understand why life doesn't always give us what we ask for, it gives us what we need. If this story touches your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because more real, soul-stirring stories are waiting just for you. The story begins with Isabella, a woman who had spent her life building walls of luxury around her heart. She wasn't cruel, but she was cold, the kind of woman who measured life in brand names and Michelin stars. Tonight was supposed to be perfect. She had invited investors from around the world to her mansion, and for the occasion, she spared no expense. She ordered a 5-star butler service to run the evening flawlessly, because appearances mattered more to her than anything else. When the clock struck 7, the doorbell rang. She walked to the door expecting to see elegance. Instead, she froze. There stood Daniel, a single father, looking out of place in a borrowed suit that didn't quite fit. His shoes were worn, his tie slightly crooked. And beside him stood his daughter, Lily, barefoot, holding a small worn teddy bear and clutching her dad's hand like he was her entire universe. Isabella's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me," she said sharply. "I ordered a butler, not." Before she could finish, Daniel bowed slightly. "Ma'am, I am here from the service. I'll be your butler tonight." The guests began arriving, their sleek cars pulling up one by one. Isabella wanted to slam the door in Daniel's face, but she didn't have time. The night had to be perfect. Against her instincts, she let them in. But she whispered through clenched teeth, "Don't embarrass me." At first, everything seemed to go wrong. Daniel stumbled over names while serving drinks. His daughter, curious and full of life, wandered the halls of the mansion barefoot, laughing and humming. Guests whispered and raised eyebrows. Isabella's face burned with humiliation. But then something shifted. During dinner, one of the guests asked for music. The grand piano in the corner stood ready, polished and unused. Isabella glanced at Daniel with warning eyes, "Don't you dare." But little Lily tugged her father's sleeve and whispered, "Daddy, play your harmonica." Before Isabella could protest, Daniel pulled out the small, dented harmonica from his pocket. He lifted it to his lips, and in that moment, the room fell silent. The sound was raw, imperfect, but soul-deep. It wasn't the refined music of a grand piano, but something that came from a place of struggle, of sleepless nights and endless love. It was a melody of sacrifice, of holding a child's hand through storms, of finding beauty in pain. The guests stopped their whispers. One woman's eyes filled with tears. A man set down his wine glass, staring at the floor, lost in the tune. Even Isabella, against her will, felt something stir in her chest, something she hadn't felt in years. And then it happened. Little Lily, barefoot and unafraid, danced around the room as her father played. She twirled between the tables, laughing, her innocence melting the sharp edges of the night. For the first time, Isabella's mansion felt alive, not with wealth, not with status, but with something real. After the song ended, there was silence. Then, applause. Genuine, heartfelt applause. The guests weren't impressed by the chandeliers or the imported wine, they were moved by authenticity, by the reminder of what matters most. One of the investors even walked over to Daniel, shaking his hand. That, he said with a smile, was worth more than any 5-star service. Later that night, when the last car drove away, Isabella found herself alone with Daniel and Lily. She looked at him differently now, not as an inconvenience, but as a man carrying weight most couldn't imagine. She asked him quietly, why did you take this job?" Daniel sighed, glancing at Lily who was asleep on a couch, her little arms wrapped around the teddy bear. "Because she deserves a better life than I had. Every job, every long night, it's for her. I may not be the butler you ordered, ma'am. But I'll be the man she needs me to be." For a moment, Isabella couldn't speak. Her own memories surfaced, nights of loneliness despite luxury, the emptiness money never filled. For the first time, she saw that the man before her was richer than she ever was. The weeks that followed changed Isabella. She invited Daniel and Lily back, not as servants, but as friends. She even found herself joining their laughter, learning to breathe again. Slowly, the woman who lived for appearances began to understand that the rarest luxury was love, the kind you can't buy. And here's the truth this story leaves us with: sometimes life doesn't give us the polished perfection we expect. Instead, it delivers barefoot children with giggles that heal wounds, and fathers who play music on dented harmonicas that reach straight to the soul. That's the kind of wealth that can never be bought, only lived. So, if this story touched you, let it remind you to look beyond appearances, to value love over status, and authenticity over perfection. Because the richest hearts often come wrapped in the simplest lives. And before you go, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that touch the soul, because we're just getting started.